Hey YouTube, welcome back. Hey YouTube, welcome back to one of my best self-deprecating videos. Woo! No, I'm fucking with you. I gotta stop cursing. I'm gonna edit that out. Not self-deprecation, because I am trying my best not to have any of those thoughts, because it's just not worth it. And I'm trying to be a better person, even though it's a little challenging. So 3 weeks ago, I was talking about the passing of my father. His passing was back in January of 2020. And I was talking about the whole me changing and having this moment of self-realization, actually getting to the nitty-gritty parts of myself, because it's just, where I was before his passing wasn't really great. I felt like I was very surface level with my life, and still surface level with my life when he died, but it opened up many doors of, I want to say, self-realization again, but it was more of, I'm gonna have to be real with myself, and that's what I had to do, because I feel like I was always in survival mode, and I wanted to get out of it. And I definitely would like to thank my wonderful boyfriend for helping me, because he, oh my goodness, I'm a handful. I don't want to say I'm a handful. I was just going through a lot, and I was taking a lot of anger out on him and a lot of emotions that wasn't deserved on his end. And so, he helped me out through a lot. So I would love to thank him for that, if he's ever watching any of my videos, which I hope not, because I would be super embarrassed. Oh my goodness. I am, and I think I think almost everyone in this planet is a people pleaser. I'm assuming that. I don't even know. But I'm getting messages, sorry. But I'm just gonna get to the story of it. But my people pleasing definitely started at birth. That's what I think. Came out the womb on April 16th, 1999, and immediately was just like, I have to live up to everyone's expectations. And throughout my life, when I got to grade school, I don't remember ever having the need to please people or to live up to expectations. It probably started happening around the time when I was getting into advanced math, 3rd grade, 4th grade, where, a lot of people were expecting me of things, and I didn't know that I was being expected of things. I knew I was a human being. I knew I was a person, but I didn't know that I was expected to have these good grades, to be this great daughter that has the brains, the knowledge, who is great at all of her subjects while also balancing a friendship life. And then also balancing puberty on that. And it was all strange to me growing up. And then, going back to with my parents, having a mother that was very, 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 and I'm going to be honest, thank goodness she was like that, even though it was horrible, with her expecting me and my sister to be to a certain level when it comes to our studies, because she was very you need to have A's and B's. If you get a C, that's an issue. At least get some A's and B's, and we will be cool in this house. But me and my sister, but mainly me, because I wasn't a big fan of the whole studying and writing and doing math. That wasn't my favorite thing to do at that time. And also I was confused. to this day, I always say I think I definitely needed an IEP. I think I had some form of a learning disability. I think even to this day it's definitely better, but when it comes to, it's something about math that my brain just doesn't like. If it's basic math, that's great. If it's some other advanced math, I'm gonna need y'all to break it down to me like I am like 3 years old, sadly. But minus that, it all started in grade school. I was expected to have this highest of high knowledge, and I just didn't have that. And then as growing up later on, getting into like fifth, into middle school and into high school, actually really quickly, like before I even got to middle school, holy crap, before I even got to middle school, I never really had friends. Literally growing up, I had this one friend in freshman year, in first grade, and she was very nice to me, but then she turned on me. To this day I still don't even know why. And then after that, I think I had like friendship with this one girl, and I wouldn't call her at this point like a friend. It was just more of like, oh, you're my classmate and you're like the only one that's like talking to me. And the other one and her like posse is like making fun of me and like bullying me and shit. I'm trying my best not to curse, I'm sorry. but yeah, like it just really sucked because I was like, why am I being bullied? Like, I promise you, like as a child in school, like in home, I was definitely annoying, but at school I was the quiet kid. Like very quiet. Up until fifth grade, that's when I wasn't quiet. That's because like I finally learned how to make friends, but then I realized that making friends means at that time meant that I had to perform the way that I think people gain friends. So it's like, I'm not saying that I wasn't myself. Like once I realized that I can be, natural around these people, around my friends at the time, who I'm still friends with, but let's pretend like we're back in time. I realized that I can be myself with them, which made me very happy and very excited. So I was always like the weird, funny, cool friend. Like you can always talk to her, you can always have fun with her, in grade school, and that was like pretty fun. But I did realize that a lot of the times in middle school, I always felt like I had to perform. If I was ever like sad, that would be like so odd. Like it would be like freaking aliens coming to like Earth or something like that. I don't even know. It would just be like very odd. And so I then realized that I had to keep up like this performance so that my friends wouldn't feel like I'm like, I guess, not being who I am. But yeah, and then it wasn't until I would say high school where, I have more expectations, that are being placed on me. I'm getting pinned up against my sister, literally, like me and her in competition of like who's like the best freaking daughter, because, which I always thought I would never do that to a child. Even if I were to have kids, I would never pin them up against each other, because you just don't do that to your kids. I mean, friendly competition is understandable. Like if it's like us playing a game or we're in sports or something, but personality wise, like, oh, you should be more like your sister in like her grades or in personality or something like that. I just feel like that's what discourages people from wanting to be themselves. But at the time, I felt like I kind of needed to do that, but at the same time there was always this thing that was saying, yeah, don't even do it. Like you're just gonna have to be the reject daughter and your parents are just gonna be upset with you. But there were also things where I felt like I had to be a people pleaser, like, at the time, and I'm sorry, Mom, for calling you out, but at the time my mom was very much a hellraiser, and her moods depended on how well the house was going to be for that evening. to be honest. So it was either like, you know, if she's upset, the whole house is upset. If she's happy, the house is happy. You know, any emotion that it is, we had to reflect that, which is horrible because it's like you literally, you know, you can't even like fight against that. You can't really like say, hey, like you shouldn't, you know, leave whatever it is at the door. Nowadays, I'm very vocal when it comes to like emotions in my family household because I can't stand that. I'm gonna be honest. I'm getting to an age, I'm 26 years old right now, and I'm getting to a point where I'm like, I'm like, we're gonna have to talk about it. You're just gonna have to be upset with me, and that's really much it. It's raining, by the way, so if you're hearing like little splatters, it's lightly raining. Also, I just came back from the gym. I'm sitting in my boyfriend's car. He's still in the gym, but I decided to come back after my workout because I got a little tired. But then I was like, oh, I should film that video that I've been procrastinating for 3 weeks. So let's do it now. By the way, I'm literally just like, I don't have a script. I should probably start doing scripts because I'm just going based off like my brain and whatever like ideas are coming to the front. And I'm just kind of saying that. So I think for now on, I'm gonna start doing scripts because that would be much better. So that way I'm not stuttering. Well, I'm gonna stutter regardless, but it would be better. But yeah, so you have like that, you know, going on in my life as a child, and then it goes into the whole, you know, with my friends. Like, I realized some of my friends in middle school and high school had this expectation of me to be, like, you know, even, and I'm not gonna lie, around that time I was very, very depressed. Like, most likely lacking some part. I was definitely deficient in something growing up, and I didn't realize it until maybe 12th grade. But I was just very depressed, and I had like a lot of anxiety. And it was definitely because I was trying to uphold this like not perfect person, but like this fun person type of role. And sometimes I would subscribe to it and I'd be having fun and, you know, partying and stuff and all that, you know. And this was at the time I was drinking alcohol. Don't recommend for anybody who is a growing person. Please do not do any type of alcohol. I mean, that's like, I don't know, that's like telling somebody not to eat food. Like, obviously people are going to try it, but I would say one little small drink and that's it. I wouldn't recommend drinking at all. But, you know, with all these different, you know, reject kid thing, it was just tough. Like, and then it wasn't until I would have to say maybe, definitely going back in high school, I definitely felt like my friends wanted me to be like this social, like, you must text me, you must send Snapchats all the time so we can keep our streaks. This is like 2014, 2015 era. And I noticed that because I was so like welcoming to people, because I noticed that a lot of people weren't welcoming to me. So I wanted to have like friendships or create these friend groups where people can feel like happy and they can be themselves, and, you know, they don't feel like they have to like be somebody. And it's so funny because while I'm creating that, I'm doing exactly what I'm going against, which I think is hilarious. It's funny. Like, here I am, like, oh, like, I'm welcoming, like, everybody, like, come as you are, literally. And here I am being the person I'm not, or really am. Yeah. Sorry, y'all. I got, like, allergies. So it's kind of like, it's a lot going on. But yeah, so it's very hilarious because it's like, oh, like, you know, you could be whoever you want to be. Like, I don't mind. Like, you're not going to be judged for it. And then here I am, like, upholding this, this version of me that I don't, like, I subscribe to, but not 100%. And it's like, if I lose it, then I'm deemed as, like, the horrible friend. But I didn't start seeing myself as that, or people not really calling me that, but, like, you could tell they, you know, they're like, Kiyomi, you're not really being the person that I want you to be. And I would say a lot of that people pleasing thing definitely like flourished, and I mean like became like a very giant tree of people pleasing. Definitely when I got to college. Not so much of like, oh, like people forcing me to party. That's not really it. It was more of like how to be this friend. And not saying that, you know, people are not allowed to have expectations of their friend group. But I realized when I had, you know, when I started realizing like, oh, this is what I want in friends. Like, it's starting to change. I'm getting older. This is what I want in my friend group. And then this is what I want in my relationships and, you know, lover wise. And then this is what I want in my family relationships. And I realized once I started having all of these expectations, like literally, because at first I'm like, you know, I have no expectations of you. You can come exactly how you are. And then it's like, I realized that was hurting me because you know, they weren't, what is it called? They were going through things themselves. And sometimes it would be like, because they were so upset, or maybe I triggered them, that I would get treated, you know, they would treat me in a horrible way, or they would treat me as if I shouldn't have any expectations of them. And that's when I started being like, okay, yeah, no, this isn't what I want in life. I want people to respect my boundaries, and I want people to respect me and how I roll. And it twisted my brain a little bit, because it's like, you know, am I being selfish, or am I actually trying to place these expectations or these things on people? And my boyfriend's coming back, so we're gonna have to pause this conversation. Okay, that's like my fourth time refilming this. Okay, so where I last started off was upholding people's expectations, because I felt like if I wasn't, that they wouldn't like me anymore, or they wouldn't want to be my friend. And then after learning that I do not have to uphold people's expectations, and I start making boundaries for myself, that's when people started getting upset. And I'm not saying that people shouldn't be allowed to get upset, or not want to subscribe to your expectations. They have every right, because that's what I was doing. There were some things that I was disagreeing with when it came to, you know, a friend that I had, that, or even my parents, or my sister, where they have these, you know, I expect you to do this, I expect you to look like this, I expect you to behave like this. And if you don't do that, then, you know, who are you? What are you? Do you even, you know? And so, and I realized the answer to all of my issues are, people are allowed to be upset when I have boundaries. And that's okay, because that is giving them the option to decide whether or not they want to be friends with me or be in my life. And I talk a lot about friendship, because that is the area where I'm a little bit self-conscious in, because I do have expectations of my friends, and obviously they have expectations of me. They have every right. My issue was that I was people-pleasing when I didn't want to do these things. And if you are people-pleasing and living up to people's expectations, you stress yourself out. You don't really become the person that you want yourself to be. I'm pretty sure a lot of people get that now, but it's really, the issue of actually having to do it is where the issue. That's where everybody's problem is at. It's the action of doing instead of, it's so easy to say, but when you start putting it into action, you notice a lot of people just really don't like you, which is okay. And, even as like a 26-year-old, like right now, I mean, I've been 26 for like a month, but like, I realize, like, yes, you need people, and sometimes you don't need people, but then you also have to find, and I hate saying it, but it's so true, your soul tribe. You really got to find your soul tribe, the people that actually like F with you. And I have I think I have a great group of friends, and I'm definitely open to becoming more friends or even having acquaintances that, I can hang out. We don't even have to call each other friends. Like, it's just like having people that you like vibe with. I love that, because then it's like they encourage you to be yourself too. And I love that. But yeah, like, you really just don't need to live up to people's expectations. That's the solution. Like actually put the effort in only having expectations for you. And I think if you do, if people do have expectations for you, don't people please them. Actually talk to them and come up with like maybe a middle ground if there's something that you don't really want to do. I think that's like the best thing ever. I'm telling you, like, communication is really key. I mean, I know, a lot of people say that, and they don't actually, once again, it's the whole thing of like, you say it, but you don't put it into action. A lot of people say communication is key, but once you start communicating, you realize a lot of it is like actually having arguments with them or having to come to a middle ground, or there might not be a solution to something. And that's what I've been learning. I've been learning that for a while now as I'm putting communication and action together. But yes, I'm going to cut this video short because I think that's all I have to say about people pleasing. It's just been a very fun 4 or 5 years of realizing that I don't need to subscribe. And I keep saying subscribe because that word heavily resonates, because I feel like I have to like be this person around people sometimes, and when I can just show up how I am, and if people don't like it, then that's on them. It's not my issue. I was gonna bring up in college when I had a friend, but I don't think that's anybody's business, nor do I want to pour out, my side of the story, because, it's more, when I use my stories, it's more of a example. But let's just say it was really based on like, I expect you to be this when I'm like this. And, sometimes friendship has like codependencies. It's almost not really like a love relationship, but it's almost similar, except there's no like, kissing or anything crazy. But it's almost like, your friend is a partner sometimes, and there are friends that are like that, where they feel like, you might have to do things that you would probably do in a relationship, but not like anything sexual. It would be more of like, talk to me, keep up with me, like. And sometimes you, as a person, some people can't do that, and some people have issues with it, or some people just kind of be like, you know what, I'm just gonna sacrifice. And sometimes you might have to sacrifice if you really, really want to do it. that's up to you. If not, don't force yourself, because that's when you as a person become less of who you want to be. And that's what I learned. Is to just talk it out with people. If you don't like it, then either come up with a solution or there are no solutions. Lesson learned. All right, I'll talk to you guys in another video. I hope you like this, even though I'm pretty sure there's millions of videos out here like this, which is okay, but this video is meant for me or other people who are resonating with what I'm saying. And I'll see y'all later. Peace.